Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm so happy to have you. To my previous subscribers, welcome back to the channel. So for today's video in particular, we're going to be talking about and discussing the Wisconsin judge Hannah Dugan, who has been arrested by the 45 administration. We're also going to be talking about Caroline Hammett, I think her name is, and her refusal during the press briefing to rule out any possible arrests that may occur on the Supreme Court. So we're going to take a look at that, see and find out what is going to be going on here. If you want to go check out my other videos in regards to the Supreme Court and all court justices, I will also put that video into the link in the description below. And also at the end of the video, I have two videos I believe that I created. One where I pinned 45 against the court system and the Justice Department. And then I also did the checks and balances. So there will be probably two videos. I'm not exactly sure what I did, but I know I did something along those lines. Now this video is being recorded on Tuesday, April 29th at 11:32 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, as and when I am recording this specific video. If you want to help out the channel grow, you can help do so by liking, commenting, subscribing, and the bell icon and engaging with the content. It really helps our channel grow more and more and more. But also, if you do want to donate, I don't ever ask for donation, but I know a lot of you guys have insisted that I include the link in the description, so I have done that specifically on your behalf, not on my behalf. I have included in this video. It will be in the description and the comment section below. If you're interested, don't feel pressured to do so. We also will have as well, this video is just for entertainment purposes and educational purposes only as well. If you've been noticing that YouTube has not been notifying you when I post and upload, don't worry. Follow my Blue Sky account and my Facebook group, and I will personally notify you there as well. And on the Facebook group, I have been sending out a lot of things on how to garden and stuff like that, how to get yourself ready. And soon, I will be taking you guys a little walk tour towards my garden. This is something a little bit of a tradition here on this channel that we always do, so I'm really excited for that. Without further ado, let's just go ahead and let's begin. Let's find out what is going on in terms of the arrest in the Supreme Court and the arrest of Hannah Dugan. Alright, so let's take a look at that. So Conspiracy Angels tell me for Hannah Dugan, the Wisconsin judge Hannah Dugan, she was arrested by the 45 administration. Can you tell us a little bit more about this? Tell us a little bit more about the arrest of Wisconsin judge Hannah Dugan. Anything else? Thank you. Okay, so this is part of the resistance, is what it feels like. Let's take a look. So the first card that comes in here is the Nine of Pentacles. The Nine of Pentacles is a very interesting card because it's interesting in a way because it enhances its ability to really focus on what is really important. This is exactly what the judge did. The judge, I don't know much about Wisconsin Judge Hannah Dugan except the fact that she was arrested and they're accusing her of hoarding immigrants. However, without that being said, the Nine of Pentacles is saying that this specific judge in particular holds a very specific background. A background that is dangerous for the 45 administration, but yet she holds a lot of possessions. She did a lot of good, and I see a lot of goodness in the heart here. I really do. The challenge to this, though, is the Nine of Swords. And the Nine of Swords is sleepless nights, and that is headed in a future context, which means that although she did a lot of good things, the world did not reward her for all the good that she'd done. And that's kind of like how she feels. That's how she feels subconsciously. Again, I never met this woman. I don't even know who she is. All I can tell you is this is what I'm getting subconsciously. I don't know if this is exactly accurate or we may never find that out. But that is what I'm getting. That's what's coming in the cards here. It's also followed by the enabling of the fifth card, the Five of Wands here. And the Five of Wands is a very interesting card here. It really talked about the fact of an inability for the 45 administration to get certain legislation or certain things passed through the normal means of government. Instead, he needs to be able to force it upon the United States by using the judicial branch to be able to do just that. Because the congressional House, the House of Representatives and the Senate, is unable and able to collectively support 45's agenda. So 45 is actually using the Justice Department to be able to enhance the stability because the House of Representatives and the Senate is so weakened is unable and able to defend itself against the onslaught of the presidential powers and duty there be. But the judicial branch has always been the thing that has been the thorn stuck into the side of the president or the executive branch. And so in this aspect here, what is this indicating? It's indicating that he is challenging the judicial branch, weakening its power and ability, so that if and when Congress gains the bone or gains the spine, whether that may be in 2026 or whatever it is, the powers of Congress is diminished to the point where it's unable and unable to effectively go against the executive branch and to ensure the democracy of the United States. Now, remember one thing: democracy in the United States is a very interesting term because the United States never had a true democracy. It always had a republic democracy, or better yet, a republic style form of government, clothed and illusionized to become a democracy when in retrospect it has always been a republic. And that's the thing here, is that the republic ideology, the republic form of government, is collapsing here in the United States. And the 501 is showing that. It's showing that there's some discontent. But it also shows that 45's administration and his power is to basically diminish the power of the judicial branch, so that if Congress, and when Congress does, because it's not when, it's if and when, Congress decides to gain a backbone and try to go up against the executive branch, because the judicial branch is so weakened that even when the congressional branch decides to do something, there's no power to enforce that law. There's nothing to enforce the rule. And that's essentially what he's doing for. He's essentially getting rid of the enforcer, so that if Congress decides to go against him, there's nothing that can put him in jail. There's nothing that can hold him with contempt of anything. Now, the following card here on the right side here that came up by itself is represented by the Page of Swords. And the Page of Swords is a very interesting card. This is a very good card. This is a card of bravery, truth, coming in, even despite all the hardship, it's coming in to where you have to be and where you have to go. Right? And what's this happening deck here? We have the Nine of Cups reversed. The Nine of Cups is trying to look at things at a smaller picture, looking at the small detail, looking at the small things of life. And the bottom of the deck here, you have the Ace of Wands. And the Ace of Wands is trying to hand down power in some way. So the Wisconsin Hannah Durgan judge is not necessarily an isolated incident, but rather an incident of oppression and dismantling of the judicial branch entirety. So that is essentially what Hannah Durgan being arrested for has done to the judicial branch. That his inability and ineffectively has the ability to hold the president in contempt. He is trying to set the stage because he knows his power is waning. And by limiting the power of the judicial branch, he's done just that. Now let's go ahead and let's take a look about Hannah Durgan in particular. Let's find out what's going on for her and her future. Spirit Angel, tell me about Wisconsin judge who was arrested, Hannah Durgan. What is her future? What is it going to look like? So, as of right now, it doesn't look like she's going to be in arrest for long. But there's definitely an ending coming for her. There's definitely an ending. I think I'm getting retirement, or like she leaves. Like in exchange for her release or some way, there's an agreement here that's being made that in exchange for something, she will be released. But not without her releasing something, or her relieving herself of doing that, or whatever it is she's doing. Because we have the Emperor. So the challenge to her release is 45, right? 45 is the challenge to her release. This is 45, and it's headed in the future context. The card that tells me that she won't be held forever would be this card, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The Eight of Swords. And Eight of Swords is telling me here restriction, but it's reversed, which tells me lack of restriction. So her ability to be arrested and stay in jail will hang on whether or not she conforms herself to accept the demand of 45, if you will. Because the next card that comes in is the Chariot, and the Chariot card is reversed. It's a very interesting card because it's a very slow moving process. I would not be surprised if she's in jail for at least 2 years, or she's held or is arrested continuously for the next 2 years or so. The next card that does come in is the Lovers card, and the Lovers card is a union chip. I feel like eventually And I say this with a heavy heart, of course. And again, this video is just for entertainment purposes only and for educational purposes only. I say this with a very heavy heart that she either misses her family or she misses something, or maybe someone in her family died and she feels like she didn't get the luxury to say goodbye because of 45, and thus she feels more likely to accept his demand otherwise. Or the Lovers card also indicates that there is a threat to her family and she has to make a decision for what is best for her family over the country. And that's how she's going to do her thing. It's lovers that love for family over country. It's what she's going to have to be fighting up against. And it's going to be because of 45 in some way threatens her family. Again, this is just for entertainment purposes only. The final card here that tells me that she has been stepping down in some way is represented by the Ten of Pentacles. And the Ten of Pentacles means letting the next generation take the torch. Letting the next generation take the torch and her spending time with family. So her excuse would be like, oh, I want to spend time with family. She will probably post a note or she'll probably make a statement saying, oh, maybe somebody in the family's ill or I want to leave because I want to spend some quality time with family. I never really mentioned what really went behind the scenes. And this is what I'm getting for the future of Wisconsin Judge Hannah Dugan, who was arrested by the 45 administration. However, this decision is not set in stone. And how do we know that? Because this is the bottom of the deck. And the bottom of the deck means she's still making this choice. This means this option is being given to her. She's going to make the choice, but she's going to do it blindly. And it's going to take place under the cliff when this occurs. But the top of the deck here is we have this Devin swords here, which means he gets away with this. So whatever he does, he's going to get away with it in government. So whatever Hannah Durgan knows, she's not going to come forward with it. And this is the Knight of Cups reverse. But 45 gets away with something with Hannah Durgan. So that's what I'm getting for her and her future. And we're now going to take a look at the Supreme Court and the possible threats to arrest Supreme Court judges. So we'll take a quick look at that, and then we'll end today's video. Then I'm going to record a couple other videos for the remaining rest of the week. All right. Spirit Angel will tell me about Caroline Hammett, who refuses to rule out the possible arrest of Supreme Court judges. Can you tell us about that, about the 45 administration not denying or saying that they will not prosecute, or even better yet, go after Supreme Court justices? Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Okay, they're telling me this is that. This is all the cards I need. The Hermit card is actually pretty interesting because it comes up with Caroline Hammett, and the Hermit card comes in as the final card. Because it represents her. She represents the darkness that she poses. The first card is the Supreme Court and its ability to rule effectively bipartisanly, which we all know over the course of the Supreme Court that has been put into question. It's based on one's perspective to make that determination. However, in my aspect here, I'm not going to make that determination up for you. I'd rather you make that determination for yourself. But one thing is for certain, this is the Sixth Pentacle. This is probably one of the most corrupted courts that we have in the country for quite some time. And here it's represented here at the Six of Pentacles, saying that in the past tense, we actually had a more fairer court system, but in the current present, we do not. Now, going into the next card here, the mystery card, we get the Fool. We're talking about the possible arrested Supreme Court judges. This is known as the Fool card, taking the caution and taking the risk and falling off the cliff, right? But sometimes comes risk, comes high reward. Not always, but sometimes, right? And this is the Fool card here. We do have the Stun. If and when the Supreme Court fails to act accordingly, right, and do the right thing, they have to do it with caution. Because if they don't, it gives all the power to 45, the Sun card. So what is it saying? What does this mean? This means to watch for the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is going to make a ruling. And whatever that ruling is, it's going to be detrimental or protective of the nation. But in some way, it's going to enhance the power of 45. So, if, just say, for example, we have a fair court system in the past, and the Fool card is we take caution with great risk, comes great reward, but not always, right? If the Supreme Court decides to do the right thing, go back to the way it was, and become a fair court again, Supreme 45 will be exposed for what he is, right? And darkness will come for him. However, if, let's say, for example, Supreme Court do away with a fair court system and they take a risk, hoping that there's a high reward behind it, they have emboldened 45 to become more powerful and to basically erase the powers of the judicial branch. And by doing so, darkness comes. Regardless how you interpret it, there's two outcomes here, right? What is the bottom of the deck? The bottom of the deck is the Eight of Pentacles. The Eight of Pentacles is, do you want this to be your last time? Do you want this to be your last thing that you'll be known for? It's all about the legacy now. It's the legacy of the Supreme Court, the justices. They have to ask themselves, is this my legacy? Is this what I want to really be known for? And the answer is no. Because you can kind of know that because there's two pentacles, one being worked on and another pentacle on the floor. But you have to ask yourself, is this what I want to be known for? That's the question that they're going to have to contemplate with. And here you have a decision of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court could be really injured because it decides to do what's right, or it decides to do what's not right. Either way, the Supreme Court would be injured. But the question is who, in what way, in what form, do they decide to choose to side with? That will be very detrimental to the powers of the Supreme Court. Does the Supreme Court hold up the rule of the Constitution? Does it uphold the rule of law? Or does it succumb to the failure in its ability to hold it up? That's the question that really is on a lot of people's minds right now. The next card that follows is the Five of Wands. And the Five of Wands is a card that is interesting because it means that within the Supreme Court justice, a lot of justices are going to be fighting among each other. Particularly 5 is going to be very, very ferocious, fighting the other 4. Because there's 9 justices in the total. But in order to have a majority in terms of agreement, you need the magic number of 5. And 5 is here. The question is, what will those 5 people fight for? Will they fight for the country, or will they fight to diminish the power of the court? That is the question. That is the $1 million question. And the decision in which they decide is the Temperance. This is imbalance. So that is what they will end up deciding, is imbalance. And here you have the High Priestess in reverse. This is my Constitution card. It's reversed. So it looks very much likely that the Supreme Court will go against their own interests and embolden 45. So, what does this mean? They feel threatened to the point where they have no choice but to side with the 45 administration. 5 Supreme Court justices will side. 1 will go, and I'm getting Amy Coney Barrett, who will not side with the 45 administration. And I'm getting that pretty strongly here. So she's going to be very vocal against the 45 administration. And I would not be surprised if she aligns herself more upon the independent wing. Alright, so the last thing that we're going to ask is, before we end the reading, is will any Supreme Court justices be arrested? Will any Supreme Court justices be arrested by the 45 administration? So these are 2 possible outcomes. Right? 1 outcome, outcome 1, outcome 2. Outcome 1, outcome 2. Okay? Okay. Outcome 1 is the Knight of Swords. Outcome 2 is the Queen of Wands. I'm getting is this 2 outcomes, Spirit? I'm getting these are 2 likely, plausible, and possibilities rather than outcomes. These are the most likely 2 outcomes here. The first card that comes in that represents outcome 1 is the Knight of Swords. The Knight of Swords coming in pretty rapidly, coming in pretty fast. The first card that comes up is the Empress. Now you all know when somebody's sitting on the throne, it means that they are currently in a position of power, in a state of control, if you will. The next card that comes in underneath the Knight of Swords is represented by the Ten of Wands. And the Ten of Wands is struggle, pushing through despite all the hardship that you may encounter. The next card that comes in is the reverse Six of Pentacles. And the reverse Six of Pentacles is doing what's right, regardless of the consequences. So the question is, will any Supreme Court justices be arrested? Spirit, will any Supreme Court justices be arrested in outcome 1? Okay, so they're saying no. They're saying on outcome 1, it's not likely. And this is particularly because they diminish the power of the 45 administration. This is the outcome when we talked about what if they choose to do the right thing and they bring 45 into darkness and not the country, right? This is outcome 1, which means there's still an outcome. The fact that it came up with outcome 1, which means there's still in play. The Supreme Court could still do the right thing. This is still in play, right? The outcome 1 is saying that the Supreme Court could still do the right thing, but it's held on by two people, a male and a female, who will help decide whether or not 45 power is diminished or whether or not 45's power is emboldened and the country goes into darkness. That is something that we'll wait to see what the outcome are we going to experience. This is outcome 1, no one gets arrested. Outcome 2. We have the Queen of Wands, right? This is somebody in position of power. The first thing this is a little bit concerning is somebody of good wishes, good wealth. I'm getting progressive here. Somebody who does anything with the intent to progress society toward a better world and a better outcome, a better future. The next card that comes in here is the Eight of Swords here. The first card that comes in is restriction, being held hostage in some way. However, instead of them being arrested, because I feel very much likely that it's not going to be an arrest, but there possibly a forced removal. And this is represented the King of Wands. It's reversed. Remember when I always say when the seat or the person sitting on the throne, no matter what card it is, it's reversed. That means that they are removed from power, they lose control, or they are defeated, or they just removed, or they're no longer in power, or whatever. It's reversed underneath the Queen of Wands, which tells me in action, in hindsight, this person might be forced out, or they might just do the right thing and then leave afterwards because they don't want to experience the consequences. But regardless, the King of Wands is reversed underneath the Queen of Wands, which is interesting because they're both wands. And this is telling me here that it feels like in some way this is a feminine individual and this is the male individual. So I wouldn't be surprised if both of these teamed up together. So again, like I said, there was a male and a female here in outcome 1. In outcome 2, they also a male and a female as well. So there is a team up here in some way. It seems to be pretty consistent. And you have here on the final card here, you have the Eight of Cups. And that comes in here despite the Eight of Swords reversed, which means restriction, being held back, maybe possibly jail time. It's reversed. This means instead the final outcome card here would be the Eight of Cups, which means leaving or walking away or resigning or being forced out in some way. But this person will leave their position. The outcome 2, I do see like there's going to be 2 vacancies if that were to occur. The outcome is that we want to find out is this going to be because these are the people that decided against 45 or decided against the country? That is something that we're going to be remaining to see and be able to watch and waiting to see what happened. But that's all I'm getting in regards to the Supreme Court. Is the outcome 1 again and outcome 2 in regards to whether or not a Supreme Court will be arrested. Alright guys, if you want to help out the channel grow, you can do so by liking, commenting, subscribing, engaging with the content with some formality, and sharing this video with others. It really helps us out tremendously. Until then, peace out. I love you. Thank you for watching.